Welcome to the Opinionated Aussies.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Opinionated Aussies podcast. What a glorious morning it is. Today, I'm joined by Aden.
How you going, guys?
And good old Adrian.
What's going on?
So, we're all a bit crook, but let's battle through it, eh? Today, let's talk about the LGBTQIA plus community and Pride Month, being that it's nearly the end of Pride Month. So, Aden, do you know much about Pride Month at all, or what it stands for, or anything like that?
Oh, look, I know the simplistic facts behind it, but I don't know everything. I won't lie.
Yeah, what about you, Adrian?
Pretty much the same. I have a basic understanding of it. I feel like because, it's something that doesn't affect me, I don't think I've ever really taken enough interest in finding out what it stands for. Not 100%,
Yeah, right.
So, it's not like I disrespect them, so...
I'm pretty sure too, don't quote me, I'm pretty sure that June is also Mental Health Month as well.
What a fucking combination.
I'm pretty sure, and I think like last week or the week before was like Men's Mental Health Week over in the States, obviously. I don't think it's here in Australia. I think Australia we have a different month for it. But yeah, just a little bit of a fun fact.
In Australia, Mental Health Month takes place between May 1st and 31st.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, right. So, how can I word this? Aden, what?
With your mental health thing, I've just Googled it. So in America, June is recognised as Men's Mental Health Month.
Right, there you go. So I was going to say Australia is different. I'm pretty sure we've got a different month.
I'm pretty sure we're November.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is November with obviously Movember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, right. So I guess we'll do a couple of subcategories, but I guess the main talking point is what is your opinion on the LGBT community as a whole?
Dude, who wants to go first? I mean, do you want to go first, Aden?
Oh, look, I don't mind. I've got I respect them. I've got no issues with them. I just Can you tell me what it means? The whole thing.
LGBTQIA.
What? Yeah. Do you want to know what the acronym stands for?
I'm pretty sure it goes
lesbian, gay, bi,
trans,
queer,
and the T's trans. I'm not sure about the IA.
Intersex and
asexual. I know that.
Asexual and intersex.
Oh. Well, I didn't know those last two. I
didn't know intersex, but I did know asexual.
And what about the plus? When you see them use a plus at the end of it?
So that's pretty much gender fluid and people that I guess don't identify with them categories in a sense. So like I don't know, let's just say for simplistic state, someone that's a female at birth but hasn't, I guess, transitioned to male yet, but they still feel as though they are male. So, some days they feel like they can be feminine, I guess, and, wear dresses and go shopping and wear makeup and all the stereotypical like female stuff, but then other days they feel more more masculine, where they could work on a car, or just play in the dirt. Obviously overly simplistic, but all your stereotypical male traits.
I mean,
So
yeah, I get the stereotype shit. But we're living in a world at the moment where the stereotype is changing, and there's really no such thing as a stereotype. So,
yeah, no, I still disagree with that.
yeah.
I,
I mean, I
I,
disagree with it too. I'm going off of what I've been reading lately, which is the stereotypical male is no longer what he used to be 2 decades ago. The stereotypical female hasn't been who she is since the 80s. It's just shit like that. And I'm like, I disagree with it, but in a way I can get where they're coming from. So,
yeah, but you also got to look at how men, I guess, you want to talk about stereotypical men, how we've evolved. Back 2 decades ago, you had to be rough and tough and, drink your problems away and not talk about shit. These days it's completely different. The same with a stereotypical female. They're not. How can I word this? They're not.
they're not in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Then you're not your stay-at-home mum. They could be a stay-at-home mum, but they're obviously being a girl boss and fucking, doing 2 degrees on the side and fucking doing a part-time job sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
But you know what? As much as I've woken up a lot these days, because you got to think about it. Like, women get they get it worse than men, and I know there's going to be a lot of shallow-minded men out there that disagree, but like if you. I've seen good points on TikTok too, where you'll get a mum take a kid to school and everyone will be like, that's normal, that's what mums do. But then you get a dad take a kid to school, and a lot of the times they'll be like, oh, look, he's such a good father. But the mother never gets that, because that's what society expects.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. Like, let's just say husband and wife, normative for a second, as an example. And, he comes home from work and she comes home from work, the kid's been in daycare, and, he lets the wife play with the kid for a while and he cleans up the house. He gets praised for it.
Yep.
And, reverse the roles and she doesn't get the same praise. And you look at it and you go, well, no, that's not right. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we're going to praise the male for doing that, we've got to praise the female for doing that as well.
There's another good point to that too, is like you've got a stay-at-home mum where the dad's working a 40 to 80 hour week, and everyone's like, man, that man is providing for his family. The wife, all she's doing is staying at home, cleaning the house. Like, that's, what a fucking normal life that is. But then if the roles are reversed and the woman's doing a 40-hour week and the man's staying at home, everyone's like, oh my God, what a good father, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, what sort of mother does that to her kid? She's not spending any time with him. Like, this is what we're seeing these days. Like, it's terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. There's, what's the word? Just disparity, I think is the right word I'm looking for.
Sounds like the right word you're using.
Yeah. It's that disparity there. It's completely different.
Let's get back to
now,
LGBTQ.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm just about to. Adrian, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
This topic, we can use this topic for another video, because I'm sure Paige would like to chime into some of this.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. But what I was thinking was, let's just say, for simplistic sake, you got 2 lesbians in the household. One has to take on the masculine role and one has to take on the feminine role. When you've got a child, obviously, 3 of us have not grown up in that household, so I can only sort of summarize and look in from the outside in. But how would we go with the same praise for a lesbian couple or a gay couple the same way we do a heterosexual couple?
Oh, I actually know someone who was who's been raised by two mothers instead of a mother and a father. And I can tell you now, from the sounds of it, they both take on the, I guess you can call equal roles of masculine and feminine, so they both kind of like do both. So, I don't know. It's very strange. I know one of them was the one that had the IVF, and that's how he came to be. So in a way, he's got like an actual biological mother and her partner, and to him, they're both equal in his eyes. Like, aside from the fact, one of them carried him. So, kind of has a little bit more praise for that, because the other one refuses to get pregnant and didn't want to destroy her body. Well, the other one was fine with it. So, yeah, that's all I've got. I don't really know much else. I wouldn't know how to look at a lesbian couple through the looking glass, I guess you could say. But from what
in HD.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I shouldn't say that.
No.
But
no, although when you said that, I kind of had a little little sound effect go through my head. It's from a very familiar website, so fuck you. Yep.
But yeah, righto. Well, let's break it down then. Let's try and tackle this in a different way. We'll go through, like, I guess, each acronym and go through your thoughts on, each different acronym and how they've evolved, I guess, in a sense.
Yes.
You catch what I'm saying?
We catch what you're throwing.
Right. So, lesbians. Now, I don't know about you, when you look at, let's say lesbian couple, there's always got to be that one pretty one, and then you got the dyke. There's always, the real butch, manly looking thing, which is a very old stereotype. Some days you can look at it and you go, oh, that's fucking true. But it's not always the case anymore. Now, I think not so much in rural towns where we are now. It's obviously more prevalent in your bigger cities. Your older rural towns now, it's still very frowned upon to be anything less than normal, I guess. Normal in an older circumstance. But like, lesbian couples. Where do we stand on lesbian couples?
Let them be. They're fine. I don't see any problem with them. If that's what you're looking for.
Well, no, yes, but no. Like, let's go back 20 years, right? Let's go back to 2000. Wow. Let's go back 40 years. Let's go back to the 80s.
There you go.
Wow, that's made me sound so fucking old. Then let's go back 20 years to the year 2000. Wow. Let's go back 40 years, right? To the 80s. Where would have lesbian couples been back in the 80s? And what are the differences between them and now?
Ooh, see, I don't really know. I guess that goes to show how little information there was about lesbians in the 80s. We knew they existed, but they weren't as accepted in society as they are now. I mean, they didn't have the right to marry each other. A lot of them would have like no chance of adopting. Some families would disown their daughter if they were lesbian, which, that's not right. I guess compared to now, yeah, no, 80s was not a good time for lesbians. Well, homosexuals in general was not a good time in the 80s for them.
What's your thoughts?
Okay.
Jordan, are you there? You cut out.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm done. Aiden, what do you think?
Look, I to your point, like I know back in the 80s, like you couldn't come out as gay or lesbian because you get slandered. But even now, still a lot of people they hate if you're gay, they still hate it. Like we need to we need to move on. Like I completely understand if people have religious beliefs about it and all this stuff, but just keep it to yourself. If you don't agree with it, just keep it to yourself. I don't feel like we should be we should be putting people down because of our own beliefs. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, look, I can understand that, and I was going to touch on it later on, but now that you've said it, I want to sort of touch on it. Now, I know not one of us are religious, which is fair enough. You
Nope.
can you can practice your religion however the fuck you want to practice your religion.
Yep.
But how do we go with religion or religious people versus members of the LGBT community?
That's always a
Now,
tricky one. That's a tricky one to tackle, dude. You can't
well,
tackle
that's why.
religion and LGBTQ together because
Well,
they're very
but
opposing sides.
that's right, and that's the point that I want to make, and that's the argument that I want to have.
Fair.
Is I'm not religious by any means. I can't stand religious people just as much as I can't stand the in your face gays, I guess. Not so much.
Yep, I
You,
agree.
you know, the how can I word this? The real in your face that wears to someone that obviously know that's gay, that sort of was like, I'm gay, accept me or fuck off, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just fuck off then.
Basically, the aggressive left wing side, not the like. There's you've got aggressive right, which are terrible as well. They're just as bad, but you've also got the bad aggressive left side as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm gay, so it excludes me from being fucking arrested, or that sense of entitlement, I guess, to a degree.
As soon as you said that, I was sitting here like, oh, fuck off. That's the reaction I get when I hear shit like that. But that's the problem. You got the far left wing LGBTQ, but what about the right wing LGBTQ? Like the ones that just want to have their rights and live their life.
But then I wouldn't really refer to them as right wing because they're sort of still on the left, but they're more respectful of some of the lesser right wing's ideals, I guess you could say.
I guess then what I would phrase it as then, instead of right, is they're more the centre. They kind of get both sides.
I think they're more open-minded.
Yeah, they're not so stuck in their ways. Like, if you're American, they're not so democratic compared to conservative. They're just kind of there, having arguments with both sides. Because the far right is very religious, and I guess I don't like using the word bigoted, but there comes a time.
You hit the nail on the head there. There's I got my rights, I got my guns. Let's speak American terms, obviously, but
I got my gun, I got my rights, and I got the Lord prayers behind me.
Yeah, that's right. Then you got the very left wing, which is like, I'm here, I'm queer. What are you going to do about it?
I literally can't be touched, basically.
Yeah. Where, you have these two worlds that clash, and, I think all three of us sit in the middle mostly to everything, but how can we try and solve the differences between the two? That's my biggest thing is how can I word this? Not everyone's going to see eye to eye. I understand that. That's no one in We've got fucking 7 billion people in the planet. We've got 14 billion faces.
So,
Not two people are going to go see eye to eye. And I understand that, but how can we stop this hatred towards one another?
that's the thing. It's not. I saw something today and it made me go, you know what? That's so true. You can't dictate how a person thinks, how a person feels, or nothing. The only thing that can dictate it is themselves, their environment, and the way they were raised. Like, I can't go up to you and say, you got to believe in this because I believe in this, and you got to change the way you think. You can't do that. And that's unfortunately the way that this argument will go. Like, we'll keep saying, we'll try to come up with all these things, but the thing, at the end of the day, they're both going to keep hating each other, and there's quite literally nothing that will change unless all of them suddenly become very open-minded. And let's be real, both sides, not going to happen, unfortunately. So they just have to let each other be and just fucking leave each other alone. Again, that won't happen either. But it's just the way we are. We're not meant to like everyone. They're not meant to like everyone. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I read today and I was like, as sad as it is, that's true.
Yeah, but see, that's the issue, and you're right. You're not wrong, and I'm not coming at you for it. But that is the mindset that people need to get out of it. And I'm not going to lie, I've had a pretty narrow-minded mindset for a while now. But I'm not going to say I've become woke because I hate that fucking word. I've broadened my mind to you different opinions, and whether I agree with a lot or disagree. You just need to be more open-minded. Everybody needs to be more open-minded. That's where the world's going wrong at the moment.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and I love the energy that you just brought then. It was fantastic.
Definitely.
Because I agree with you 100%. Like, the way the world is shouldn't be the way the world is. Just because it's I hate the saying love it or leave it, or this is who I am. If you don't like me, fuck off. I hate that sort of saying because it's I'm being a stubborn old mule. I'm not going to change my fucking ways for anyone. Where it's like trying to show an 80-year-old technology. They're so scared of technology. It's like, yeah, but it's the way the world is going now. If you want to be able to communicate with someone, you need to know how to operate a mobile phone.
To be
just
clear,
shit like that.
I never said that I didn't want that to happen. It's just, is this something that's going to happen in our lifetime, do you think? That's, like, the sad question I have to ask.
I fucking hope so. I fucking hope so.
I don't think so. In fact, I think it's gotten worse over the last, 6-7 years? And that...
I don't really think it has,
I'm not saying that the whole world has gotten worse. I'm saying that you want the far right and the far left to stop hating on each other as much as they do, correct?
No.
Well, what are you asking then?
Look, you're always going to get hate. You're always going to get hate. It's not the fact that you need people to stop hating. It's the fact that we need people to go, right, look, I hate that, I don't like that you're like this, but at the end of the day, I need to respect your ways. Yeah. You can still hate it. But hate in silence. Don't push it out, because you see images of people, one person hating on something around a group of people, and then that hatred flows to other people that go, right, you know what, you're right, that I should hate that too. I get frustrated by it because this is where the world's gone wrong. It's not the fact that I hate religion, but at the same time, I'm still like, if you keep to yourself, I'm going to respect your opinions, but I don't agree with them. I think that's where we need to get to. You've got to respect people for what they are and their beliefs and their rights, basically. Like, it's Jordan. You take over because I think you're going to say it better than I am.
So, you know, I love your energy, Aden. It's fucking great. I'll tell you a little story, right? When I was at DHL when I lived in Brisbane, you guys all know I've told you the story.
Yeah.
My leading hand at the time, Joey, he was out and out 100% religious. He was Jehovah's Witness. You know, there's nothing you could do or say or anything to convince him otherwise. You know, it was church on a fucking Thursday night, you know, follow the fucking their Bible, 100%, whatever. Now, I never hated the bloke because he was religious. I would actually, on a Friday morning, I would actually ask him, hey, what did you guys, you know, what verses did you read at church? What did you do about this? What did you do about that? I would question him, me being the type of person I am, I question everything. I question him about things in the Bible, you know, if Adam and Eve only had two sons, Cain and Abel, then how was the whole world populated? You know, I wouldn't do it disrespectfully. You know, I would come with him in the same sense that I would come to you guys for advice. You know, very calm, collected. Even though I can't stand religious people or religion,
Yep.
I still found it not a common interest, but something to talk about to make our day go quicker. Now, if I hated him and hated religion and working with him because he was religious, I would find myself being so fucking miserable and just hating life because I have to work with someone who's religious. It's the same thing back before then when I was living up here and I was working at Sentry. One of our best customers, the person that used to do the purchase order for us, he was gay. I did not know that he was gay at all until I went over to his place and met his partner. And I went, oh shit, you're gay? He's, yeah, I'm just like, I could not have picked it, you know. But he was the fucking most blokiest bloke, you know, when you think about, you know, what is a bloke? He was the fucking nicest cunt you'll ever meet, do anything for anybody. Now, if I sat them two in a room together, you'd see steam coming out both their ears because they wouldn't be able to listen to each other. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that why can't we all just fucking sit down for a change? And even though you don't agree with someone, just like me and Aden don't agree all the fucking time, you hear what they have to say and go, you know what, I respect your point of view. You know, you have your opinion. I think your opinion is trash. That's fine. We have our differences and let it fucking be it. You know, why did the Titanic sink? Is because it let water in the ship, let the sink ship. You know, our hatred is like the Titanic. If you don't let hatred into you and consume you, your ship is going to float and it's going to set sail. But if you let hatred consume you, then you're going to sink just like the fucking Titanic. And that's where I think a lot of the world needs to go these days, is not let fucking hatred consume you. You know, you see it all on TikTok, especially nowadays, people leaving such hateful comments on something that didn't even need to be left. You know, it's like, you know, someone would be, I guess, talking about, you know, mechanics or something, you know, for the guys that I follow. And someone's like, oh, that's not how you fucking do that. This is how you fucking do that. You don't know shit, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, yeah, dude, that may have worked for you, but it didn't work for this fella. So why the fuck spend that 20 seconds and leave that hateful comment to someone else? You know, the same thing in my mind applies to religious people and members of the LGBT community. Is that what's the point in fucking hating each other? Have your own opinions and go your own fucking way.
Yeah, I guess
Did that sum up what you were going to say, Aden?
Yeah, I was just about to say that's you pretty much hit the nail right on the head for me.
You know, like, why? You know, my biggest thing is, yeah, not everyone's going to live in peace and harmony and fucking hold hands and peace, bro, whatever. But
the world's never going to be like that.
No, God,
no, never.
We've got to come to the realization that it's not going to be like that. We just need to keep our hateful comments to ourselves. If you don't agree, you can say, look, I don't agree with that, but leave it at that. Don't keep going with the rubbish.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone's going to have a disagreement. Not two people are going to see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Just like I think the Rabbitohs are the fucking most grubbiest team in the NRL. Aden thinks the Raiders are, so, we're never going to see eye to eye there.
Put words in my fucking mouth.
I'm so thankful that Aiden's mic was so muffled there, like, I didn't want to go deaf. As soon as I heard Jordan say that, I was like, no, I need to take my headset off real quick.
I did not quote those words once. Never did I quote
He
those
was using
words.
it as an example, you doofus. Jordan doesn't actually think the Rabbitohs are the grubbiest team. Holy
Alright, so I've got a question for you boys, right?
God.
In a lot of Asian countries, Thailand, you both know where I'm going with this, Thailand.
Oh, God.
Why are ladyboys so accepted in Thailand and part of the everyday normity because they're not in Western cultures?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know why. I've never researched it. So
I reckon.
And I'm not asking for research. I'm asking you on your opinion. Why do you think they're more common and more well respected in Asian countries like Thailand than they are in Western cultures like Australia?
I'll be happy to give you my 2 cents on this one because I haven't Googled anything, but this is my honest opinion. Now, years ago, we've known that in those sort of countries, Thailand and all those sort of countries, it's that we've known of this happening for decades. So they've been fine with it for years, but because we live in these countries that won't progress, this is why it's becoming hard for Western civilization countries to accept them. That's what I think anyway.
actually, I'm pretty sure that's what I was going to say, so you hit the nail on the head there, Aden. I reckon because the Western culture is so different compared to these countries like Thailand and whatnot. It's very hard for people of Western culture to just accept the ladyboys. I will say though, and I mean this in the most polite way possible, if she got bigger dick than me, I don't want nothing to do with her. Put me to shame.
So, okay, on that instance, hypothetically, you went over to Thailand, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say we're all 19 again. That was a long time ago, but we're all 19 again. We all had the money. We all spent a week in Thailand. Now, you picked up, you looked at this chick at a Taiwanese bar. You looked at her and you thought, fuck, you were gorgeous. And you went over there and you talked to her and you hit it off and everything was going fucking swimmingly. You thought, fucking, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You took her back to our hotel room and you found out that she was a ladyboy. What would you do?
I don't want to get hate for it, but I have to answer that question. I'm not someone who can do anything sexual with someone that has a penis as well. I'm sorry, I can't. It's not attractive to me, doesn't get me hard. They can be the best person in the world. You got a dick though, mine doesn't rise to attention. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but my point is I know some guys would get angry, get pissed off, and slam doors and punch holes in walls and shit like that.
Well,
what would you do if you found out? That's what I'm saying is.
I would actually understand it more because.
What would be your thought process? That's my question. Is what would be your thought process?
Yeah. I'm getting to it. Shut the fuck up! I'm getting to it. You keep going. So it would probably, I probably wouldn't be angry. I'd probably be more understanding, because it's like, so that's why we hit it off. You get me a bit more than I realised in multiple different ways. I would be very polite to them. I'd tell them that because of the way they are, I can't be attracted to them in that way, but I would still want to talk to them, like get to know them a little bit better, because, if we're hitting it off, they're fucking great. They must be a great person. Like, You don't just go ham, fucking bang on walls and fucking throw them out being angry that they, in the eyes of those that would do that, quote unquote, wasted their time. Like, that's not a waste of time if you had a good night, even if you didn't get anything from it. You had a good time, so don't do that.
Okay, so that's really interesting to me. That I find that really interesting, because I think Aden knows where this question is going to go. But let's just say you didn't know about their parts, right? Let's just they could be a transitioning. They could be anything. Yes. But someone that you met, let's say that bar, for instance, like you said, you would still want to talk to them and get to know them as a person. What if you actually did find not a physical attraction to them, but a mental stimulation and an attraction to them as such? Doesn't have to be sexual.
Okay.
But you found an attraction to them. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what this person is in the most polite sense, but you still found this attraction to them in the sense of, you connected really well, you're on the same wavelength, but you didn't know what genitalia they got.
As you said, it's not about the sexual attraction. It's like a mental attraction.
You take that out of the equation, the sexual attraction,
right?
Like you just said. But I'm not going to quote what you just said. But you take sexual attraction out of it.
Yep.
Purely on face value, you like the person, you're still talking to them. Would, if you did click, would there still be, could you grow a sexual attraction to that person? Ooh. Could you grow a relationship from that?
That's one that's tough. I honestly don't know, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question. But that would be me changing my sexual preferences, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, look, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not here to bag you or knock you or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious because, if you take sexual attraction out of the equation and you found someone and you guys hit it off and, there was, let's say they were everything that you wanted to be. I know some people, it's, their core beliefs and it's how they were brought up. It's deep in their soul that they're only attracted to women, which I can understand. That's fine. They can have that. But if you were put in that scenario where you found, I hate saying it, the love of your life, but they were not who you thought they would be, would you be able to cut that relationship with that person?
Yeah, all right. Can I chime in here? Because I feel like I want to put my point across. And look, it might be, it might cause a confliction between some people. But okay, so let's just say in the scenario, Paige turned out to be, she had a penis. Let's put it that way. She's all right.
Paige turned out to be a Peter.
No, she had a penis. I mean, yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Paige turned out to be a Peter. All right. Now, if there was, say, 6 months have gone and I've, I'm like, fuck, I love this girl. She's amazing. And then, we go and she's like, look, before we do anything, I need to tell you that I am transitioning, but I used to be a boy. Personally, for me, I would say, look, I'm really sorry. And I've, I have grown a relationship and love for you, but unfortunately I can't move this relationship further. For one, I want to be able to have my own children and I want to. It's hard because I know it's going to offend some people, but at the same time, I should be able to have my preferences in what I want in a partner. Everybody is entitled to have their preferences. If you're okay with it, then that's that's your preference. That's fine. But personally, for me, I wouldn't be able to continue with a relationship. That's even if I felt madly in love with them, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't be able to do it. And that might just be me being shallow-minded, but that's my personal preference.
Personally, I don't think you're being shallow-minded at all. As you said, it's a personal preference. It's really down to the individual. It's not something that other people can really control. So I get exactly where you're coming from. And
okay, but let's just flip it now, right? And this is where I know Jordan hates this, where it's if the roles were reversed, but if it was a female with someone transitioning, I feel like people wouldn't hate on them as much if it was them rejecting someone rather than me rejecting someone. That's just my opinion on that one.
It's actually quite. I like that.
I agree.
I'm surprised you agree with that, Jordan.
Yeah. Hold on. Give me a second. My headphone just died. There we go. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, just fine. Actually, you sound better.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you then. Yeah, look, I think with what you said, Aden, with I think how can I word this? It would be more socially acceptable if a female did accept someone like that opposed to a male. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, let's just say, for instance, you, Aden, were Ida.
Yeah.
And Paige was Paige. Like, I think it would be more socially acceptable for her to accept you as Aden rather than Ida than you would accept her as Paige than Peter.
Yeah. The thing I'm saying is, so say that was a situation and Paige didn't know that I was transitioning into a male. She said, "Look, I can't do that. I don't, I'm sorry, but I don't, I don't want that to happen. I can't continue with this." I feel like that people would accept that more of a female, rejecting someone than a male rejecting someone.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I agree with that.
That does raise the question. We don't agree with this, obviously, but what I don't like about the wokeness of it all, I hate that word so fucking much. If a male rejects someone transitioning, they are immediately classed as a bigot and a transphobe. Even if they had used the reasoning that Aden had just given us. That doesn't seem fair, does it? That was an actual question. No.
I
don't think it's...
The short answer is no.
The long answer is no.
Well, no, there's a lot of, variables that come into play.
A lot of nuances.
It comes down to each individual person. It comes down to, their friend group.
Yeah.
Their upbringing, their parents, this, that, and a third. It comes down to a lot of different variables.
I still think it's like...
Say, for instance, let's just say Adrian, right? Met a girl and, heterosexual girl, love his life and rah, rah, rah. And they hit it off, they were engaged or whatever, but she felt trapped in a different body. I'll use that word because that's what a lot of terminology I hear. And we hear that, she was trapped in someone else's body and, Adrian come to the realization of accepting that and, they transitioned into, let's say, something of the opposite sex, Adrian was okay with that, that's fine. Would then myself and Aden look at Adrian as something different? Or will we keep our same opinions as we once was?
Well, given that it's used to, I would like to imagine you should keep the same opinion as before. Maybe with a little twist to it, but it wouldn't change from what it is now to something overly negative. But that's because, and I cannot stress this enough, used to have more open minds than half the world at the moment. So.
But yeah, you know, it's like I said, there's a lot of variables that come into play, but you know, for one, when you talk about, you know, we'll go back to the ladyboy thing, right?
Yeah.
If I met, I would be surprised if I picked someone up and they were a ladyboy in Thailand. I would be surprised. But to be honest, I'd probably go through with it. If it was just a sexual act and get in and get out, you know, for me, the spark's already there. You know, the attraction's already there. But if they were, I guess, to tell me straight up, you know, that they're a ladyboy,
That would
then
deter you.
Yeah, I think it would.
But if you'd gone through with everything without being told a thing, got to the room, and it's like, wow, you really do have a massive schlong for a girl, don't you? And it's like, well, I'm here, might as well keep fucking going. There's one key difference between you and me in that, though. I don't know about Aden.
That the way you said that is not what I would think.
No, but
I can understand,
yeah,
yes.
I'm just using a general thing, and also throwing in some humour because we've been rather serious this episode. So try to add some humour. But the difference between you and me, Jordan, is you're okay with butt stuff. I'm not. So I basically, since I'm not attracted to penises and I don't want anything up my ass, and I won't put mine up anyone else's, what's that left with? Blowjob?
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of getting a blowjob from a dude, and seriously, cock in my mouth? No thanks. So that basically eliminates everything. Whereas you don't want to say it on a podcast, but mate, you've been tongue-darted before, so I think you're fine.
But like I said, we're two completely different people.
Yeah, I know, that's the main thing. Like, it all comes down to the individual. Whereas you would follow through with it, I couldn't, because there's like, what options have I got? So,
but it's not just that though. Like, it's ingrained in you, and you know, you've been that way for a long time. That I don't want to say narrow-mindedness.
it's just who I am.
I don't want to use narrow-mindedness as an insult.
I'm very stereotypical white male, straight white male. You can say it.
In the most least insulting way possible, you are very narrow-minded.
Yeah. That's because, again...
I'm not trying to be a cunt here. You know, usually I am trying to be a cunt, but I'm not trying to be an active cunt here. I'm just saying.
No, absolutely not. And that's fine. I mean, it's my preference. Am I allowed to keep... I mean, I'm pretty sure I've told you this. I have literally sat there one day and considered, am I, like, bi or something? So, you know, I asked around, and it's like, the more I gave it some thought, it's like, no, I have no physical attraction to males.
That's where it becomes like, I completely understand where you're coming from, Jordan. I really do. But I think that everybody should be entitled to their preference. It's their preference. It's not so much that they're narrow-minded. It's just that that's their personal preference. So, like, 100%.
Say that, 100%.
You know, the whole thing about, you know, if Paige was a male transitioning into a female, and I was like, man, I love this girl. She's amazing. But if she hadn't told me that, you know, that was happening for 6 months, how could I trust this person as well? Like, there's a lot of factors that come into it. It doesn't necessarily make you narrow-minded. It's a preference. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Like, I won't lie. I used to be, and very recently, probably about 3-4 years ago, one of the most narrow-minded people you'd meet. I was pretty bad. And
Oh, look, all three of us were. All three of us were just as bad as each other. You know, I wouldn't say we're all very far right wing, but fuck, we were, you know,
right wing.
We fucking were, you know. Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Avi, your fucking mummy, whatever his name is, like, they were our idols. And it's not until I've actually sat down and gone, these guys, you know, Sky News, you know, sat down and thought, this guy's got no fucking idea on how the world works.
I'm not going to lie, though. I don't look. Jordan Peterson's a fuckwit, but sometimes he is accurate. Sometimes.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's for me. It's especially like Jordan Peterson. You've got to pick and choose
the topic.
What he says. Yeah, exactly. Ben Shapiro, I just think out and out, he's an absolute fucking unit. I can't stand him at all.
No, I don't like him, but again, there has been instances where still to this day I will agree with some things he said. Very minimal, but some. I think that's the same with a lot of people, though. There's people out there that I go, I cannot stand this person, but they've made a good point with this. Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be the odd one out, but I still have Ben Shapiro followed on... I follow him on Facebook still, and there's been times where I'll watch it, and it's like, yeah, I do agree, but there's been a lot more, like with you two, there's been a lot more lately that I've gone, no, just stop talking, for fuck's sake. But... Not like in the negative way, like that's just me sitting there like, fuck, stop taking up my newsfeed. But I think I'm probably the one that probably leans more towards the right side of the fence more than used to, because you guys heard of like Matt Walsh's documentary recently, haven't you?
No.
Who the fuck's that?
Matt Walsh is someone that works with Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire. They made a documentary called What is a Woman? And it basically went and would ask this question to gender studies professionals, transitioning doctors, trans people in general, and they would ask he asked them, what is the definition of a woman? In the most polite way possible, and he never got an answer.
Okay, but these days it's hard because, you know, a male saying what is a woman, it just it frustrates me these days.
Yeah, it's
what he's doing is he's baiting an argument. That's what he's doing. And I haven't even seen the video, but you know, when you got people like that, when they bait someone for a question, they want an argument, you know. If they said to this gender studies professor, what is a woman, and they didn't like the answer that person gave them, they'd probably either snip that, clip it out of the final cut, or they'd argue with them because it wasn't what they wanted to hear.
Well, the one he tackled the most, and this is still in relation to the LGBTQ, is he was asking about, is transitioning as a kid okay? And
this is actually one that and this is probably where I am narrow-minded, but I do not think that we should be teaching kids about transitioning at a young age.
I 100% agree with you.
My opinion on it, and maybe it's because, you know, my dad's a teacher and he disagrees with it, so maybe there's a bit of that involved with it, but I personally think that we shouldn't be bringing books into schools about transitioning at, you know, in primary school sort of age. I think once they hit maybe late primary school to early high school, yeah, sure, we can sort of bring that conversation up. But I think when they're young, you know, preschool through to grades like 5, I think that's I don't think that's acceptable. But that's just my opinion. Maybe it's hate speech. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
I
I'm
mean,
going to touch on that a little bit, Aden, and give you my view.
Yep.
I think grade 6 now, obviously used to be grade 7 for us, but grade 6 now, they should obviously have the birds and the bees talk, which I think is fine. Not so much talking about transitioning, but the birds and the bees and the bees and the bees talk. You know, for the kids that are, gay, obviously. Then, we obviously had to do sex ed where we were in high school, so, continue that into high school.
Yep.
But then maybe grade 12 where kids are, I hate to say it because it just pains me to say it nowadays, but where kids are sexually active at grades 11 and 12, talk to them about, what everything that is involved in that. And then if they want to do it, they can do it when they're 18. Obviously, they're out of school and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But it gives them a couple of years to make up their mind.
That's right.
Do I actually want to become a female? Do I feel like I'm a female? Or, is it just I like playing with Barbie dolls? Or, am I a male that just likes other guys, without putting the variables in it? Not everything's black and white. I understand that. There's a lot of grey areas, but I guess giving children time to think about what they want to do if they want to transition and making that transition period easier for them. So, don't give them hormone replacement therapies when they're fucking 12 years old because they haven't even found their private parts yet. But do it when they're 18, when they've had maybe, not everyone, but maybe most kids have had some sexual experience.
100% agree with that. Because if you start using hormone blockers, the science of it apparently is, and don't quote me, I'm going off my memory here, it will completely fuck their body. Because let's say you're born a boy, you start taking testosterone blockers at 12 onwards, your development...
When you hit puberty,
Yeah, your development is stunted, and you start having a lot of body issues. Don't give kids blockers. That's harmful to them. Let them go through puberty, because there's literally a thing called transition for a reason. They can go through that. But...
that's fair, but that also brings me to the point of the swimming body. I can't remember what it's called, the FIA or whatever, the swimming body. With the transgender athletes, banning them and making them their own category. They were saying you have to be transitioned before the age of 12.
I
because
don't understand that.
That to me just opens a whole can of worms and brings everything down to a younger age. Aden grew up, as a single child. Adrian grew up with a little brother. I grew up with two sisters. So grew up in a very different household to you two. If I grew up with hand-me-down fucking Barbie dolls and fucking, when I was a fucking kid, when I was younger, the girls used to terrorize me by putting their sports bras on me. If I took that and made it, my personality as such, and actually wanted to transition when I was younger, could it have been because of that? Like an outside source?
Yeah.
And, that's what I'm saying. If you're a parent and you want to teach your kids, it's okay if you want to be a boy, if you want to be a girl, but let's wait until you're old enough to understand what the means of it is, the meat and potatoes to transition. Otherwise, they're going to grow up not knowing who the fuck they are. And it's going to make everyone look confusing. Let's take the confusion out of everything and just sort of say, look, if you want to transition, let's wait until you're old enough to fully understand it.
Yeah.
Rather than doing at a younger age where they're still very malleable and susceptible to outside ideologies.
Yeah. Children need to be able to grow, develop, and learn everything at their own pace and make the decisions when the time is right. So
Children need to be children at the end of the day.
Yeah, they need to be children. I think I said this to you like a fortnight ago. Let kids be kids. Don't force any ideologies on them. Gay, straight, fucking trans, don't do it. Just let them be who they want to be. They'll discover at their own pace what they are and who they want to be. Like,
exactly right.
There's some kids that already know, hey, I'm gay. And they'll know for years, but they won't understand it. And it'll confuse them. But they'll learn it over time, and then they'll go, oh. So that's why I've been the way I am. Because I like boys. And I am a boy. And, yeah, same with girls. And then there's the trans one. Let them be who they want to be, and as they figure it out over time, I got a good example. My friend that I grew up with just recently came out as trans.
Yeah.
I'll admit, at first, me being me, I was kind of like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But I've given it thought. Makes a lot of sense. To me, anyway. So, power to her.
Yeah, well, that's right. You've got an old friend that you grew up with that is completely different to how you know them. So, in that sense, will you treat them any differently to how you used to?
No, I'd probably still treat them the same, which does lead to the problem that I would probably still call them by their former name. But that's a given, considering that I've known them since we were 5. That's not going to be something that's going to change. You can't change that too quickly. I'll get used to it over time. I'll be able to start calling her by her real name that she has now. But
okay, with that being said, how would you like it if we still called you Andy rather than Adrian?
Look, hey, like I said to you, I've just accepted. Like we still got friends from high school that still call me that, and I don't call it out. But do you still want to call me Andy, or would you rather call me by my name?
I'll call you cunt, but that's that's how I address you. But my point is that they have found out who they want to be, which is fair enough.
Yep.
I think the polite enough thing you could do is actually just be polite enough to them. But, if they wanted to be called by they, them pronouns, you call them by they, them pronouns. If they wanted to be called fucking Cassandra, you call them Cassandra.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do that.
The thing is, though, I agree with you, Jordan, 100%. But I'm going to side with Adrian on this one. And the reason being, if you've grown up with someone, you're used to doing it, I won't lie, it probably would take time. It would take time to, you could try your hardest to do it, but sometimes you're going to screw up and call them by the wrong thing. And it's just...
that's fine. But if you do, my point, I guess, was being... saying it with malice, or not accepting the idea of that's them now. So you're like, no, I don't accept you as that now, so I'm just going to call you to what I think you should have been called, which was you give a name at birth or whatever. That I guess more of the point that I was trying to make, rather than you're a slip of the tongue and you're like, oh shit, sorry, I didn't mean that.
What you're sort of getting at is if it's intentionally done, like if you're intentionally doing it, but if it's accidental, look, I think there is an issue where people will do it accidentally, and then the other person can get really offended by it. And you just need to pull up and be like, look, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but I've been, it's just instilled in me that this is what you've been called for so long, and I'm going to do my best to turn that around and be respectful to you, but sometimes I may slip up, and just pull me up on it. I think that's how the situation can get dealt with better.
Oh, 100%, 100% agree with you. And, if someone that has transition gets really offended by you accidentally calling them the wrong pronoun or the wrong name or whatever, they're obviously not the right person that you want in your life. Like, you've done it by accident. You haven't done it with malicious intent. If you do it on an accident and they still go off and blow up and you're like, well, you know what? I don't need you in my life because I made an accident and you're going to make the world burn for it. I don't need you in my life.
I agree.
Like that's why, like, look, I can nearly 100% say that the people I've got in my life, if they transitioned and I slipped up, I think they'd be respectful about it. And I can honestly say that. Like, say Trent, just as an example, if Trent's watching this, I don't mean to. If Trent was to transition into a female or Adrian was to transition into a male, then I would I'd be respectful of that.
Now, we're not going to gloss over that. We're not going to gloss over that, you fucking cheeky little cunt.
I see what you done there. That was fucking great.
I had this feeling I was going to get mentioned that way, but nah, fuck you, Aden.
You got to admit it was quite smooth, though.
That wasn't smooth at all. Fucking, there's been Rocky Mountain smoother than that.
That was fucking great, and I fucking applaud you for that. That was fantastic.
I don't know why. He started, and I had this image of Trent in a wig, a dress, and big fake tits, and his height. And then all of a sudden, I just hear, and if Adrian was to transition to a female, that image went gone, and I'm sitting there like, ooh, unbridled rage. Ooh, fuck you, cunt.
What I mean, that means you're toxic, so we probably shouldn't be friends with you.
Oh, bitch, please. Fucking toxic. Jesus Christ. I think I only got so mad at it because I just wasn't ready for it. It's like, oh, fuck.
That was fucking great.
What?
I don't think either of yous were.
No, you got Jordan completely off guard.
Yeah, that took me a second to realise. I had to play it back in my head like, did he just say that?
And he did, yeah. and then there's Aden himself sitting here like, look, I've been building on this joke for a bit. Let me fucking say it. Let me get some leeway in. I'm gonna fucking say the joke. Fuck you.
Alright, I don't know how much more we've got to talk about on this one. This has actually been a really good one to talk about, I won't lie.
Yeah,
it's been good. Okay.
I will admit I'm surprised that even my own views are not as far right as I thought they were. I thought I was more right-leaning in this topic than anything else. That's why I was afraid to do it.
No, it's alright.
I think I've kind of woken up a bit more. Not using the term woke that I don't like here. I mean, like, I've actually been able to give it more thought over the years.
Oh, you've opened your mind a little bit, and that's, at the end of the day, it's as long as you're a better person today than you were yesterday, then that's all that counts. That's all that fucking matters. Is all you gotta do is just 1% and just be 1% better today than you were yesterday, and over 100 days, it's just completely different.
Yeah, maybe the transition will be complete.
But yeah, righto. No final thoughts, guys?
Not really, no.
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything, nearly. In the time frame we've got, I don't even know how long this has gone for.
Do you want a time frame? I can give you the time.
Sure.
It's been an hour and 9 minutes on this topic.
That's not that. I thought we were going longer.
Yeah, I thought we would go for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, same.
I think we had a lot less to say than we thought. Which is different.
Yeah, no, well, if that's going to be the end of this episode, then I'll quote the Buttsman and be a good cunt. Peace in the Middle East.
Me dick stinks.
We know that.
We know that. All our social medias are always at the same place. Give the Instagram page a follow, DM it if you have topics you'd like us to cover in the future. And obviously you can go find Aden at anything tag Ados the Great, because Aden's pretty much everywhere. I think he's even got the OnlyFans account up now.
I wish.
Oh shit.
Working on page getting one, but it's nothing's come out of it yet.
I hope nothing's come out of it yet. Anyway. Yeah. Cheers,
That's it for
boys.
this episode, guys. Aden, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you next week, I guess, eh?
I'll see you in the next one.
See you later.